Hi, I'm Gregor Karolus. I work as CHRO of Springer Nature, a new force in science publishing, just founded and still in the merger. I started my career in a research company doing basic research, and I had some generalist roles, and as it was state funded and many functions there were more boring than in a normal company, like finance, I found out there, or it seemed to me at that time, that HR is the key role. Finding scientists makes all the difference in the results and achievables. So I was eager to go there where the music plays, and that was at that time HR. More or less coincidence. I started as a classical staff function as assistant to the management board at that time, then had some assignments like in internal audit and other stuff, so moved a bit away around the company and then applied to the co-HR director role, which was vacant at a certain time. When I decided to move into HR, I took that opportunity. I ended up in that company being the HR director responsible for 1,700 people. When I thought I want to see something else in life than this specific kind of niche in what is there in the world of companies. So at that time I applied for some companies, and where I finally ended up was Bertelsmann, at that time very well known in the German market where I'm coming from, very well known media company, where I switched a bit from the author side of scientific publishing into the publishing side. So I didn't leave really the industry, but companies and how things were done. And there I made my way over several stages, being responsible for companies on a European level, being in charge for HR for a division, and finally I got my chance to head up the whole HR organization at that time, when this part of Bertelsmann was divested, merged, and 2 years ago ended up in the large merger with MSE, with the Nature brands. Speaking about ethics, from an HR point of view, where the company positions itself, where the company says what company are we, what company we want to be, influences highly the ability of getting the best people or not. Because it's another message if you are looking as a company for profit, or if you are looking for purpose and profit. And this has something to do with ethics, but also has to do thereby how attractive am I, especially for certain generations and for high performers. How long do the people stay? How motivated are they? How much do they buy in each day? And I think increasingly there is the expectation from the staff members to getting an answer where the company is. And the more people are flexible on the labor markets, the more they give their answers with their feet, how they feel about the company. Yeah, the code of conduct actually is a belief, and it's also something like a bit carved in stone what the company stands for. And it starts with, in the case of our company, that we really want to be compliant with all national and regional laws and regulations. But that's only the starting point. From that there are beliefs what we as a company stands for. What is our position on child labor? What is our position on how we do businesses on environments? So it gives the room, or it sets the rules, what we believe, it sets expectations, it sets what we stand for. And some of them are really important to not get in trouble with laws. Others are more important to build up our own ethics, to again tell, I like this formulation, to tell the people what company are we and or do we want to be, which sets expectations, which should then lead into leadership beliefs or principles, and which should come alive by management being a role model for that. Compliance should be systems, should be training about compliance, should be an integral part of the beliefs of the company, formal, like the code of conduct, but also as a leadership principles, that management shows that they feel that this is not only on paper, but is lived, is a principle. And then, of course, compliance is also about internal audit. Does the company look at the practices and check on a regular? And of course, how are external audits sometimes encouraged or to deal with is also part of the processes. In HR, many processes is about data protection, for example. So there's again differences in the national law about data protection, but in principle, my experience is that most of the staff members feel very serious about their data. So, and this is how you deal with the data of your staff and the personal data, but also data you have from a company side in your role, like salaries, and you should protect that. And in order to protect that, it starts with IT environment, passwords, and processes. Wherever you go, each process has this element of compliance, whether you can take it serious, whether you can play it safe, or whether you be more flexible with it. In order to get compliance on your way, you should, in my view, allow anonymity in pointing out to non-compliance cases. This is typically, or I think best practice is there to allow via a system which is regulated outside, if any possible, the company, and maybe also by external people, to allow to give input where a staff member feels that someone is simply not going in the right way, and to give management that mirror, or the people responsible that mirror, and the action to resolve it. In our company, we have an external lawyer dealing with it, we have an external person also dealing with it, and these people make sure that there is also no negative downsides to the people who raise their hand. And I mean, just recently, coming from Germany, being crazy about cars, the Volkswagen example shows a certain whistleblowing at a certain time there would have protected the company from enormous financial losses. So it's, besides that we as a company feel this is the right thing, even if you only look from money side on it, this is a need to do. Yeah, actually there are two things as test yourself before you do that, and test yourself especially in terms of resilience. You are not in HR always the good guy, but you're also sometimes the bad cop. You are often in the middle of conflicts. You have great work to do, you have sometimes difficult work to do, but it's always complex, and you have to have the personality and be honest to yourself. That's number one. And number two, if you really want to be in HR, and my advice would be to not start in HR. Start in a business function, start in a commercial function. Why? First of all, you create a better understanding on what is needed. You are at the receiving end of HR. You make the experience what is good and bad HR yourself. You can't do that when you are in HR. Secondly, if you work later with the business, if you want to be close to the business, if you want to get some street credibility, You need to speak the language and you need to know what you're talking about. Having this experience outside HR helps you a lot.